does quantum physics have to do with Toastmasters? That probably seems like a very odd question to a lot of you. I'd like to take a few minutes to tell you why I think it has a lot to do with Toastmasters, particularly this group of fast trackers. When I was in high school and college, I took physics like many of you. I learned all about gravity and velocity and density and time and motion. And no, I'm not going to use the concept of velocity as an analogy for how quickly Keith and Chad are moving their way through the Competent Communicator Manual. That's really classical physics, and classical physics is hundreds of years old. I'm going to talk about quantum physics, which is really less than a century old, and very different. What are the differences between the two? In classical physics, things are objects. They are sui generis, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right. They're separate objects. In quantum physics, things are united. It looks at things in terms of their relationship with one another. Classical physics sees the human body as a solid mass of skin and bones, a structure. And quantum physics sees the body as a flowing river of energy, information that's constantly moving. Did you know that 98% of the atoms in your body today were not there a year ago? Your stomach lining renews itself every 4 days, your skin every month, your liver every 6 weeks, and your brain cells every year. So your body is constantly changing, it's constantly in motion. Classical physics sees thinking and logic as all important. Emotions are simply a distraction. It's just the opposite of quantum physics. Quantum physics sees feelings and emotion as a much higher form of knowledge than thinking. They think emotions and feeling create more energy than the brain does. And the heart, which is a source of feeling, has an electromagnetic field that is 5,000 times the size of that of the brain. Your heart and gut, for example, have far more neurotransmitters that receive energy much more quickly than the brain does, and as a result, they communicate that information to the brain so that there's a higher level of thought. So, great. What does all this mean? It basically means that we are all interconnected. Information is constantly flowing. There's constant chatter throughout nature. We're in a constant state of influencing and being influenced by the thoughts and feelings of other living organisms. Let me give you an example of that. Let's start with plants. In 1966, a lie detector expert, Cleve Baxter, hooked his equipment up to a rubber plant. He wanted to see how long it would take for the water to go from the roots to the stem of the plant. He was astonished to find that the plant experienced the same emotional reactions to being watered as people do when they experience joy. So he decided that he wanted to step up the experiment, see if he could heighten the response or create a different kind of response. So he thought, I will get a match and I'm going to light the tip of the leaf of this rubber plant. The moment he had that thought, the emotion of fear spiked in the rubber plant. He hadn't even taken an action, he hadn't gotten a match. Just basically having the thought caused the reaction. This experiment has been duplicated many times by him and by many other scientists. There's also been many other experiments that have demonstrated that plants basically pick up the emotional reactions of all living organisms around it. For example, if you dropped a shrimp in a pot of boiling water, a plant 3 doors down the hall, the fear would spike at that exact moment in that plant. I've seen this transference in my own house, as a matter of fact, not with plants, but with our dog. My daughter Ashley was home from college several years ago when she was recovering from mono. One of the effects of mono is that it makes your spleen very vulnerable to rupture. And she was taking a very rigorous dance class in college, and she was concerned that she was putting herself at risk of having her spleen rupture. So we spent a lot of time talking about this. It was a dilemma because it was too late to drop the class and she needed the credit. She didn't want to go to summer school. On Sunday evening, our dog collapsed. Perfectly healthy, playful throughout the weekend. We took the dog to the emergency vet center, and she had emergency surgery to remove a ruptured spleen. None of us felt at that moment that that was a coincidence. As a matter of fact, Ashley to this day feels that this is one of the things that magic took on for her so that she didn't have to worry about this. And we've talked about plants, people to plants, people to animals. What about people to people? As you can imagine, it's even stronger. That there's been numerous, hundreds, probably thousands of studies on healers trying to better understand how they use their energy across thousands and thousands of miles to cause healing in other individuals. There's also been hundreds of experiments that have demonstrated that when a relationship exists between two people, the physiological response of one person to emotions and feelings and thinking can be mirrored in that other person, even though the second person doesn't even know what the first person is going through, that doesn't even know what the first person is thinking. It's almost that what happens between the two is that their energy causes them to come into synchrony. Their heart rates synchronize, their breathing synchronizes, their brainwaves synchronize, much like a pendulum swinging back, two pendulums swinging back and forth. You have a thought, it goes out like a radio wave, it's picked up by others who are vibrating at the same frequency that you are. Carl Jung called this collective consciousness. Have you ever had a feeling, queasiness in your stomach, a sense of excitement, and you didn't know what that was all about? Or have you ever had an idea and you didn't know where that idea came from? Well, now you know. Okay. I want to bring us back to the question of how does quantum physics have to do with the fast trackers? And I want to bring us back with this question. How many of you have ever heard a speech given here that you thought was speaking to you directly? Have any of you ever felt that? I felt that too. When I first joined Fast Trackers, the group, there was a core group that had been here for a very long period of time. And the level of synchrony between the thought of the individuals in that group was very evident. I was always surprised that you could get 3 speakers stand up and give speeches on the same topic, yet none of the speakers had coordinated with each other. We'd always comment on that. Wow, here it happened again. Synchrony comes from being with people who are vibrating at the same level. You know, communication is at the subconscious level. It transcends verbal and visual. It's no coincidence that any one of us are here in this fast track group. It's no coincidence that any one of us are here today. If you believe in quantum physics, then it is quite likely that the reasons why you are here may be completely subconscious, but go way beyond learning to be a better speaker. We've often commented about how special this group is. I believe that we all vibrate at the same frequency when we're here in this room together. I believe that if any one of us deeply feels that you need to learn something, and you need to hear something, even if it's not conscious, there's a good chance that someone in this group is going to deliver to that need, even if it's not conscious to that person either. And that's what quantum physics has to do with fast trackers.
Thank you, Cindy. That was fantastic.